My stepson said I would never earn his respect. I froze his cards and closed every other account paying his rent. He realized too late. Don't forget to subscribe and share your experiences below. Let's get started. My name is Dan, and I'm 43 years old. 7 years ago, I married Laura, and with that choice came a family I thought I could build with my bare hands. A wife, yes, but also her 2 children, Alex and Mia. I walked into their lives not as some stranger passing through, not as a guest at the table, but as a man determined to stay, to protect, to provide. Their father lived in another state, a phantom who drifted in and out whenever it suited him. He wasn't there for parent-teacher conferences, for late-night ER visits, or for the 1,000 little moments that shape a childhood. He swooped in when he wanted applause, when he wanted to be remembered, when he wanted to play real dad for a weekend before disappearing again. But me, I was the one who carried everything in the meantime. The rent, the utilities, the groceries. I worked 12-hour shifts on construction sites. Steel under the summer sun. Concrete dust choking my lungs. Winters so bitter that my hands split and bled inside my gloves. And after all that, I came home not to silence or rest but to the demands of a family that didn't even share my blood. I drove them to practices. I sat through school plays. I bought the clothes, the electronics, the endless things children outgrow. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I poured enough into them, the gap would close. That one day they would look at me not just as the man who married their mother, but as someone real. Someone they could lean on. At first, they kept me at arm's length. Mia was 11 when I arrived, Alex 14, an age when boys are already restless, suspicious, itching to test boundaries. They weren't rude outright, not in the beginning. Just cold. Reserved. They didn't know what to do with me, and I told myself that was normal. Time would soften them. So I tried. God knows I tried. I organized family trips, days at the beach, tickets to amusement parks, weekends at cabins by the lake. I gave them Christmas mornings piled with gifts, Easters with baskets overflowing, birthdays where no candle went unlit. I cooked dinners, dragged myself into board games when I wanted nothing more than to collapse in bed, kept traditions alive that weren't even mine to begin with. And there were moments, flashes in the fog, when I thought I had finally broken through. Mia would smile at me, her eyes soft, almost grateful. Alex would mutter a quick thanks when I handed him something he needed. Little things, small as they were, felt like victories. But more often there was the other side, the comparisons. The knife edge of words meant to remind me of my place. Dad took us to the movies. Dad bought me this. Dad says I don't have to do it that way. Their father could vanish for 6 months, a year even. But the moment he reappeared, every sacrifice I had made was wiped clean. He would spend 2 days and a few dollars, and somehow he was their hero again. I could slave away for years and still be no one. I remember one Christmas in particular. I had worked double shifts to afford the things they asked for. New tablets, headphones, clothes from the brands they said everyone at school was wearing. I stayed up late wrapping everything so the tree would look like a miracle in the morning. And when the paper was torn, the boxes opened, the smiles brief but bright, I thought maybe, just maybe, they saw me then. Until Alex said, "Dad's sending me something better." He said it'll get here next week. Better. That was the word. My gifts were temporary placeholders. His gifts, though they hadn't even arrived yet, were already superior. I laughed it off in the moment, but that word stayed with me like a stone in my shoe. Better. Always better. Laura tried to soothe me sometimes. "They're kids," she said. "They'll grow out of it. They don't mean anything by it." But she never corrected them. She never told them to respect me, never told them to stop comparing me to a man who had abandoned them. Her silence was its own kind of betrayal. Still, I pressed on. I told myself this was the price of building a family that wasn't born of blood but of choice. You endure, you sacrifice, you earn your place over time. That's what I believed. But there were signs, small at first, that what I was building rested on rotten foundations. When I asked Alex to help around the house, he would roll his eyes, drag his feet, and only move when Laura repeated the same request. My words carried no weight unless she stamped them with her approval. It was as though I were invisible until she translated me into someone worth obeying. When Mia needed school supplies, she would call her father first, not me. And when he didn't answer, she'd come to me reluctantly, as if lowering herself. Even when I gave her what she needed, she'd whisper afterward to her brother that Dad would have gotten me the good kind. Invisible yet indispensable. That was the rhythm of my life. Everything depended on me, but nothing was ever credited to me. I was the foundation of the house, and like any foundation, I was taken for granted, ignored, unseen, but expected to hold everything up without complaint. I remember one evening, after a long day pouring concrete under a freezing sky, I came home to find Alex sitting in the living room, laughing on the phone with his father. He was asking for tickets to a concert. And in that moment, I realized something that hollowed me out. Not once had he ever spoken to me like that. Not once had he laughed so freely in my presence. The man who showed up twice a year got his laughter. I got his silence. And Laura, she never said a word. She let it happen. Maybe she was afraid to rock the boat. Maybe she thought it wasn't worth the fight. But to me, every silence was another cut. I told myself to endure, that children lash out, that they don't see the sacrifices until they're older. I told myself to keep building, keep giving, keep waiting. But in my quietest moments, late at night, staring at the ceiling while exhaustion clawed at me, I wondered how long I could keep carrying a family that seemed determined to remind me I wasn't really part of it. And though I didn't know it then, the warning signs were already there, written clear as blood on a wall I refused to look at. Because respect, once withheld, is rarely given later. And I was beginning to learn that lesson the hard way. It happened on an evening that should have been ordinary. Family dinner, nothing more. Laura had cooked pasta. Mia was scrolling through her phone between bites, and Alex sat across from me, half slouched in his chair the way 17-year-olds think makes them look grown. I had worked a 12-hour shift that day, my body aching, but I tried to make conversation, tried to keep the illusion of family alive. We spoke about school, about his plans after graduation, about the small things that fill the silence. I thought for a moment that maybe this night would pass without tension. That maybe, just maybe, we were moving toward something better. And then Alex looked me dead in the eye. No hesitation, no nerves, no trace of a boy who doubted his words. His voice was flat, cold, deliberate. You'll never earn my respect. The fork slipped from my hand. The sound of metal against ceramic rang sharp in the silence. For a moment, I thought I had misheard. Surely he hadn't said that. Not after everything. Not after years of rent, bills, braces, holidays, school supplies, gas money, shoes, electronics. Every necessity and every comfort bought with the sweat of my body. Surely he hadn't looked at me, the man who had kept him afloat for 7 years, and declared me nothing. But he had. Mia froze, eyes darting between us. Laura stiffened, her lips parting as if to say something, but all she managed was a soft, "Alex, don't." Her voice lacked conviction, lacked anger, lacked the defense I had hoped for. She tried to smooth it over like it was nothing, like it was just another teenage outburst. But I knew better. Those words weren't heat of the moment. They were truth. His truth. The truth he had been holding on to all along. And hearing it felt like being stabbed in the chest with a blade I had paid for myself. I didn't shout. I didn't slam the table. I didn't even finish my meal. I sat there, staring at the boy I had raised, and I realized that no matter how much I gave, no matter how many years I broke my back, I would never be more than a stranger sitting at his table. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. I excused myself quietly, retreated to the bedroom, and sat in the dark while Laura pretended nothing had happened. She didn't confront him. She didn't defend me. She didn't come upstairs to check on me. Her silence was as loud as his cruelty. And in that silence, something inside me broke. I thought of every moment I had endured, the rolled eyes, the comparisons to their father, the way my authority was ignored until Laura repeated my words, the Christmas mornings where real dad was still better. I thought of every hour of labor, every dollar spent, every sacrifice swallowed without gratitude. and I realized something that chilled me to the bone. I had been buying respect that would never come. I had been pouring myself into a bottomless pit, believing that love and recognition could be earned through sheer endurance. But respect isn't purchased. It's either given or withheld. And Alex had made it clear which side of that line I stood on. So the next morning, before the house even woke, I dressed, left, and drove straight to the bank. I didn't move with anger. I moved with clarity. Cold, merciless clarity. Every account I had been covering, every bill tied to my name, every expense I had silently carried for years, I shut them all down. The rent, the utilities, the kids' debit cards. I froze Alex's card, the one I had been loading each month with money for gas and fun. I canceled automatic payments for Mia's extracurriculars. I withdrew my name from everything tied to their lives. It was not revenge. It was not spite. It was survival. If I would never earn respect, then I would no longer be the sponsor. If I was nobody in their eyes, then I would stop living like somebody when the bills came due. The bank teller looked at me strangely as I signed paper after paper, but I didn't explain. How could I? How could I tell a stranger that I had spent 7 years building a castle for children who spat at the very stones I laid? That I had carried a family who had chosen another man as their father, a man who offered them nothing but still stood taller in their eyes than I ever could? By the time I walked out, the air felt lighter. My hands trembled, not with guilt, but with the strange calm that comes when you finally draw a line in the sand. I went back to work that day like nothing had changed, but inside, everything had. That evening, when I came home, Laura was already waiting. The tension in her face told me Alex had tried to use his card, had discovered the truth. She exploded. "What did you do?" she shouted the moment I stepped inside. "How could you do this to them? To me?" I didn't shout back. I handed her the paperwork from the bank. The lease, the utilities, all transferred to her name. The kids' cards shut down. My contributions erased. She grabbed the papers, eyes wide with disbelief. "You can't just walk away like this. You can't abandon us." "Abandon?" I said quietly. "I've carried this family for 7 years. And last night your son told me to my face that I would never earn his respect. If I'm nothing to him, then let me be nothing. Nothing in the bills. Nothing in the accounts. Nothing in the responsibilities you all piled on me without acknowledgement." Alex, who had been lurking in the doorway, let out a laugh. A cruel, sharp sound. "You're bluffing." But when his card was declined at the gas station later that night, the laughter died. And as I watched the realization sink into his face, I felt no remorse. Because the truth is simple. Respect and responsibility are tied together. If I have none of the first, I owe none of the second. And so, with a steady hand, I ended the illusion of family I had been financing for years. The decision was final. The silence that followed was not peace. It was the calm before the storm. The storm came faster than I expected. By the time I returned home from work the next evening, the house was simmering like a pressure cooker ready to explode. The lights were on in every room, the TV blaring though no one was watching, footsteps pacing the floor. I could feel it before I even set my keys down. The moment had arrived. Laura was waiting for me in the kitchen, her arms crossed, papers clutched in her fist. The paperwork I had left on the table the night before. Her face was pale, twisted with disbelief and fury. "Dan," she hissed, her voice trembling. "What did you do? Tell me this isn't real." I set my lunch pail down, hung my jacket, and looked at her evenly. "It's real." She slammed the papers down on the counter. "You transferred everything. The lease, the utilities, everything is in my name now. Do you have any idea what this means? I can't handle this on my own. You can't just dump it all on me." "Yes, I can," I said. My voice was calm, cold. "Because last night your son looked me in the eye and told me I would never earn his respect. I took him at his word. If I am nothing to him, then I will live as nothing to him. No more bills. No more rent. No more money. I'm done." Her eyes burned. "You're abandoning them." I shook my head. "I carried them. For 7 years. I carried them while their real father disappeared. I was the one paying for everything, and you let them spit in my face while I did it. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm just stepping aside. Let their father do what fathers are supposed to do. Before she could answer, Alex walked in. His face was red, his phone clutched in his hand. He didn't waste time. He threw the device onto the counter so it skidded to a stop between us. It's declined, he snapped. My card. I tried to fill up at the gas station. Declined. What the hell did you do? I didn't flinch. I froze it. His jaw dropped, but he quickly masked it with anger. You can't just do that. That money is mine. No, I said quietly. That money was mine. I gave it to you because I believed I was building something with you. But you told me the truth, Alex. You told me I would never earn your respect. So now you get nothing. No card. No money. Not from me. For a moment he just stared at me, stunned. Then he laughed, bitter and hollow. You think I need you? I don't. Dad will take care of me. He always does. The lie was so transparent it almost made me pity him. Almost. Then go ask him, I said. The silence that followed was suffocating. Laura's eyes darted between us, panic rising in her face. She opened her mouth to speak, but Alex was quicker. You're pathetic, he spat. You're just bitter because you're not my real dad. You never will be. The words hit me like bullets, but I didn't let him see the wound. Instead, I turned away, poured myself a glass of water, and spoke with deliberate calm. Then let your real dad handle it. From now on, every bill, every expense, every burden. I'm done. You said I'll never earn your respect. Fine. Then I'll never buy your comfort again. Alex stormed out, the slam of the front door rattling the walls. Laura rushed after him, shouting his name, but I didn't move. Mia had been silent through it all. She lingered in the hallway, half hidden, her eyes wide and glistening. When Laura and Alex were gone, she stepped into the kitchen. Her voice was small, trembling. I'm sorry, Dan. I turned to her, surprised. For what? For him, she whispered. For how he talks to you. I know it's not fair. I know you do everything. I don't know how to stop him. He doesn't listen to me. He doesn't listen to anyone. For a moment, I felt a flicker of warmth, a spark of what I had hoped for all these years. But it was faint, fleeting, drowned out by the larger truth. You don't have to be sorry for him, I said. You just have to decide who you really see me as. If I'm nothing, then I'll be nothing. But if you think I've been something, then don't let him erase it. She nodded quickly, tears slipping down her cheeks, and ran upstairs. Later that night, Laura returned without Alex. She looked at me like I was a stranger, her face blotched from crying. He's staying at a friend's tonight, she said. Her voice cracked. Dan, how could you do this? He's just a boy. He doesn't mean what he says. Yes, he does, I replied. And even if he didn't, you've let him believe he can say it without consequence. That's on you, Laura. You allowed this. You let him spit in my face and did nothing. So don't blame me for finally stepping away. She shook her head, her voice breaking. You're tearing this family apart. No, I said. This family was already broken. I just stopped pretending. For the next week, the house was chaos. Alex refused to speak to me except in curses. Laura alternated between begging me to restore the accounts and raging at me for my selfishness. Mia stayed quiet, her eyes heavy with sadness, caught between her brother's hatred and her mother's silence. But none of it moved me. The first time Alex's card was declined at the gas station, he came home furious, yelling that I had ruined his life. The second time, he went quiet. By the third, he stopped trying. The reality had sunk in. Mia approached me once more in private. Her voice was softer this time, almost pleading. Dan, I don't want things to be like this. I know you're not our real dad, but you've always been the one who's here. Can't you just forgive him? I looked at her for a long moment, then shook my head. Forgiveness without change is just permission to keep hurting someone. I won't give him that. She nodded slowly, and for the first time, I saw something in her eyes. Respect. Not love, not yet, but respect. As for Alex, he doubled down. He mocked me, called me names, laughed at the idea that I thought I could punish him. But I saw the cracks. I saw the fear in his eyes when he realized his father wasn't stepping up, when he realized the safety net was gone. And Laura, she kept pleading. Just go back to the way things were, she whispered one night. We can fix this. But I knew better. There was no fixing it. No turning back. Because once a child looks you in the eye and tells you that you'll never earn their respect, there's only one path left. You stop trying. And that's exactly what I did. I lasted another 3 weeks in that house. 3 weeks of slammed doors, of whispered arguments bleeding through walls, of Laura's pleading eyes searching mine for some trace of weakness. 3 weeks of Alex's mocking laughter when he thought he had won, followed by his sullen silence when his card failed again. When his friends asked why he suddenly had no money, when he realized his real dad wasn't rushing to save him. The tension thickened until even the air felt poisonous. Meals were eaten in silence. Conversations were short, brittle, sharp as glass. The smallest request turned into an argument. The house I had worked years to maintain, the house my money had built, had turned into a battlefield where every look was a wee *p*n. And I knew I couldn't keep living like that, so I packed a bag. Just the essentials. Clothes, my tools, the paperwork I needed. I rented a small apartment on the edge of town, a place no one would call beautiful, but where silence was free and peace came cheap. A single-bedroom flat with peeling paint, a thin carpet, a view of nothing. But it was mine. No demands, no disrespect, no reminders that I was only tolerated. The night I left, Laura cried. She begged me not to go. She said the kids would come around, that Alex was just acting out, that Mia needed me, that the family couldn't survive without me. And maybe all of that was true, but I had survived for years without their respect. I had carried them on my shoulders until my knees buckled. And when I asked for nothing more than acknowledgement, I was told I'd never get it. I didn't shout at her. I didn't curse or rage. I just told her the truth, steady and cold. Love can't be bought, Laura, and neither can respect. If your children can't see what I've done for them, if you can't make them see it, then I won't spend the rest of my life paying for the privilege of being treated like a stranger. I'd rather be alone than invisible. She broke then, covering her face with her hands, her sobs filling the kitchen. But I didn't stay to comfort her. I walked past, out the door, and into the night. The next morning, I woke up in my new apartment to silence. No shouting, no slamming, no demands, just silence. It was heavy at first, almost unbearable, like standing in an empty church after everyone has left. But slowly it began to feel like freedom. I hadn't realized how much noise I had lived with until it was gone. I thought maybe they would let me go quietly, that they would accept the line I had drawn. But within days, the messages started. Laura called, sometimes angry, sometimes desperate. She begged me to reconsider, told me the kids needed stability, told me Alex had just been lashing out and didn't mean it. But words don't vanish once spoken. Once a knife is driven into the heart, an apology doesn't make the wound disappear. It just leaves a scar. Mia sent me a message too. Simple. Just, I'm sorry. I don't want you to go. I almost softened then. Almost. Because I knew she meant it. I knew she had seen the truth, even if too late. But she was still a child, and children are shaped by the silence of their parents. If Laura couldn't demand respect for me, then Mia would never truly learn it either. As for Alex, he didn't call. He didn't text. He didn't come by. But I heard through Laura that his life had end to unravel. His gas tank was empty. His nights out with friends had ended. His grades had slipped as the weight of responsibility bore down on him for the first time. And when he finally turned to his father, the man they all held above me, he discovered the truth I had always known. The man had nothing to give. Not time. Not money. Not care. The real dad they glorified had left them empty-handed. But they never admitted it to me. Not once. Pride kept their mouths shut. even as the walls of their lives began to crack. One night, a week after I moved out, Laura showed up at my apartment. She stood in the doorway, her face pale, her eyes hollow. She told me Alex had cursed her too, blamed her for letting me leave, blamed everyone but himself. She said Mia was crying herself to sleep, asking why I was gone. She said she felt like the house was falling apart without me. "Come home," she whispered. "We'll fix it. Please, Dan." For a long time I looked at her. I thought of the years I had given, the years of silence and disrespect, the years of being measured against a ghost. I thought of Alex's words, "You'll never earn my respect," echoing in my head like a verdict I could never appeal. And then I shook my head. "There is no home to come back to," I told her. "Because the home we had was built on lies. Lies that I could ever be respected. Lies that you would stand by me. Lies that the children would see me as a father. I'm done living in a house where my love is invisible and my labor is taken for granted. I won't go back to being used." She cried harder then, but I didn't let her in. I closed the door and returned to the silence. The weeks passed. The calls slowed. The messages dwindled. I heard less and less about Alex, about Mia, about the chaos inside that house. And slowly, the ache inside me dulled. I realized then the truth that had been waiting for me all along. Respect is not optional. It cannot be begged, it cannot be bought, and it cannot be forced. If someone looks you in the eye and tells you you'll never earn it, then you owe them nothing in return. I had lived as a ghost in my own home, a stranger paying the bills, a man standing in another man's shadow. But now I was free. Did it hurt? Yes. Did I love them? In my own way, I did. But love without respect is slavery. And I had finally walked away from my chains. As I sit here now, in the quiet of this apartment, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Peace. No constant demands. No humiliation. No weight pressing on my chest. Just peace. Alex figured out too late that money and comfort don't fall from the sky. Mia will grow up remembering that I was the one who stayed, even if her mother never said it out loud. And Laura, she will live with the silence she allowed, the silence that cost her a husband. I have nothing left to give them. Not my money, not my strength, not my heart. And yet, sometimes, late at night, I hear their voices in my head. Alex's cruelty, Mia's apology, Laura's pleading, the echoes of a family that could have been, if only respect had been part of the deal. But respect was never given. So I walked away. Now I ask you, the ones who hear my story, was I wrong? Was I cruel to finally stop paying, stop enduring, stop allowing myself to be used? Or was I simply taking back what was mine all along? My dignity, my freedom, my peace? Tell me, would you have endured it longer? Or would you have walked away too?